Welcome to the Chicago Bears franchise, everybody. My name is MrHurriicane. Today we're going to recap the first season of the series and talk about where the Bears are at after 1 year and where we hope to go with the upcoming offseason. But the season is over. We finished 4-12, tied for the worst record in the NFL. Obviously, we weren't very good. It was a long season. But now we get to look ahead to the offseason and what is hopefully to come. Let's look at the schedule quick. And as you can see, it did not take very long to realize that this team was not great. We gave up 59 points and a historic performance to Devonta Freeman back in week 1 that kinda set the tone and let us know some of our weaknesses, and the big plays that we saw with Devonta Freeman continued throughout the year as we gave up a number of long runs, and I think really skewed the stats because of all these long touchdowns that hopefully we can prevent in the future. We did get a nice win here against the Steelers, and that was the Marcus Wheaton revenge game, and little did I think that these two teams would be picking 1 and 2 in the upcoming draft. And we are picking number 2, I expect anyway, because we beat them in the head-to-head and have both 4 wins. So in a division we did not fare very well this season. We lost badly to the Packers, lost a close game to the Vikings, gave up too many points to the Ravens, and this was one of those weird fourth quarters with a bunch of scoring going on. We were able to play some good competitive games at the same time, but not many that we could come out on top on. The defining performance as far as success goes was just this game against the Packers, where we played our best game all season. We were effective at shutting down Aaron Rodgers. Mitchell Trubisky was effective on his limited passing, and we were able to run the football and stop their running game. It wasn't a formula we were able to repeat at any other time, however. We came close to beating the Lions in week 11. We almost won a game against the 49ers. Then we did dominate the Bengals. I'm more impressed, though, by the Packer victory because it was Green Bay. It was a rival team that already had destroyed us one time, although the Bengals game was probably our most complete. Lions game, nice late victory. Then disappointing games against the Browns and the Vikings. But all that is behind us now as year 1 is over. I do want to look at stats, take a look at the roster, free agents, and the draft board. So a lot of stuff to get around to today. Why don't we start here with the season stats? And we have Mitchell Trubisky, who played 12 games this season. And we saw the ups and downs of Trubisky until the broken collarbone ended his year. Obviously, Trubisky came in a little raw, but I think the tools are there for him to become a good starting quarterback. And I've been asked this many times, but Trubisky will be the unquestioned starter going into Season 2. If we address quarterback at all in the offseason, it is merely going to be to find a backup, because I don't think that Mark Sanchez will be that guy, and we're probably not going to keep Mike Glennon at his very high salary cap number, although he could return on a much lower contract. I wouldn't be against that. So Trubisky, 15 touchdowns, 10 picks. I was happy to limit the turnovers in that department. Completion percentage was a lot lower than I would have hoped, only 6.5 yards per attempt, and that's not very high. Then running. Probably should see Trubisky run more in his second season. This averages out to around a little over 2 a game because he played in 12 games. And I think he should probably be running maybe 1 or 2 more times per week. If we look at, where do they hide this? Oh yeah, that would be in the season stats over here. These were kind of his best performances. I wish they had labels next to the game these were in. But I know he had a great game against the Steelers, played well against the Packers. 2 3-touchdown performances with no interceptions. And then a couple of his lower games here down the list. One of these 44% completion, not very good. And we're going to have to work on the accuracy ratings and hopefully get Trubisky a little more consistent. We'll talk about Mike Glennon here, who had to start the last 4 games of the season and ended up with 128 attempts. His accuracy was even lower than Trubisky's, and his yards per attempt was also lower. So, although Glennon looked good at times, definitely nothing that really stands out that we have to pay a lot of attention to. And then Mark Sanchez just played one half of football in the last game. When we go to the running game now, Jordan Howard in his second season was everything that we hoped he would be. A very strong running back that was durable and effective. The yards per carry went down from his rookie season, but definitely Howard has put himself probably in the top 10 running backs in the NFL. He does good work in the passing game, over 1,600 yards from scrimmage and 10 total touchdowns. So obviously we have running back pretty much taken care of. And I know many of you are wondering, is he going to draft another running back? Or is he going to only draft one running back? Well, I like the three that we have. I've mentioned before that Benny Cunningham, I think, has the skills to be a spot starter if Howard ever got hurt. I think that he is an effective enough runner that can get some yards after contact and create a little bit. I think next year he should get more carries. I'm a bit surprised that it was so skewed toward Howard, but I mean, he does get majority of the workload. But I think I do want to get Cunningham more touches next year, along with Tariq Cohen, who is more of the gadget playmaker, not going to get a bunch of volume, but hopefully a lot of chances to make plays in space and to get the big plays that this offense desperately lacks. So with those three running backs, I'm not looking to upgrade at either spot. None of them. Although I could still address running back when it comes to putting somebody on the practice squad. And if we keep fullback Michael Burton, we're not going to carry 4 running backs and a fullback. So if we end up with 4 running backs in the roster for some reason next year, then Burton would probably be the odd man out. But as of right now, I think it'll be 3 plus a fullback. And Burton was pretty good this year, especially when it came to getting goal line touchdowns. 4 of them. Or actually 3, and 1 was a nice run. Then receiving, nice surprise here from Marcus Wheaton, who came over from the Pittsburgh Steelers. He was our big play receiver. He's not overly fast. He has decent speed, not a great route runner. None of these ratings really jump out at you, and that's kind of the case for all these receivers. I thought that Kendall Wright was a bit underutilized, but still good. 40 catches, 592, 5 touchdowns. Definitely more attention went to Wheaton and the tight ends. Speaking of which, we had 3 get quite a bit of playing time, and I'm surprised that Adam Shaheen ended up with the most catches. But Zach Miller dealt with 2 different injuries this season, and he does have one of the lowest injury ratings on the team, if I'm not mistaken. Won't show it right here. But he's 32, his contract is now expired, and we already spent an early pick, the Bears did before the series began, on Adam Shaheen. And I think that Shaheen looked like a starting tight end this year, and when he was given the chance to start, he did a really good job. If we check out the stats, here were his games. Obviously not many yards, although I think he has the potential to be a higher yardage tight end. But what impressed me the most was just his ability to make the tough catches across the middle that moved the chains. So Jordan Howard was second in receptions, Wright third, Shaheen fourth, and Deion Sims, who I believe is under contract next year, and it would be a battle between him and Shaheen to start. Although I think that using 2 tight ends is something we'll do quite often in this series, although I'm not sure either is the run blocker that we're looking for. We also saw Daniel Brown a little bit. He's another vertical threat, and I'd like to get a blocking tight end on this team, which might put his roster spot in jeopardy, although I kind of liked playing with him once he got a chance to get on the field. A few more catches here down the list. 3 for Alonzo Russell, 3 for Thompson, 6 for Bellamy. We also had Kevin White start a lot this year, and you wouldn't really know that based on the stats. Obviously, White has dealt through a number of injuries since being drafted in the top 10 by the Bears, and I believe he still has 1 year under contract, and I'm hoping we can maximize that year and get him some chances because there's so much talent here, but are we going to be able to tap into it? Route running is pretty low, catching is okay, could use some work, and he's the fastest receiver on the team, so you'd like him to be a big play threat, but that didn't happen this year. On the offensive line, I like our interior situation a lot more than our tackle situation, where we just gave up way too much edge pressure and a lot of sacks. And I know I can fix some of those with just hitting checkdowns and just being more aware, but at the end of the day, the tackles need to be upgraded. I don't think that Leno, Compton, Morgan, or Massey our long-term starters, and we're going to have to be aggressive in addressing that if we want to protect our young quarterback, who obviously ended this year injured. Defensively, we have a lot of good players here, and there's potential for this defense to, I think, be a top 10, top 12 type of defense. Jarrell Freeman, I think, was the best player on the team this season. Now, Freeman is 31 years old, and I think there is a limited window of opportunity with this current defense given the age of some of the key players, Freeman, Trevathan, and Akeem Hicks. Now, Freeman, I think, should still be fine for a couple of years. He was a great run stopper, and with him in the middle, I'm pretty confident in our run defense until, obviously, the safeties get involved, and we see Amos and Jackson here to make a number of tackles, but they also missed a lot of tackles that led to long runs. So I want to get some safety competition that might help us a little bit more in run defense, because if that doesn't get fixed, then we're going to continue giving up all these long runs and our defense won't reach its potential. Trevathan and Freeman are just a dominant duo in the middle. Both are great run stoppers and have coverage ability. I think that Freeman's is one of the highest in the entire league at 85 zone coverage. He has all the traits. Freeman is a very important player on this defense, obviously. In the secondary, I was impressed by Prince Amukamara, and that's why he's gotten the contract extension already. He's 28, and we should be able to get some good play out of him for the rest of his prime. Then, pass rushers, of course. We have Pernell McPhee with 21.5 sacks this year, a breakout year for McPhee at 28 years old. That was great to see. And also Leonard Floyd, in a big second season of his career, was able to give us 11 sacks, or 12 sacks. Next year, I'd like to see a little bit more consistency in just getting pressure and forcing quarterbacks to make some off-balance throws. Akeem Hicks, maybe a bit quieter this year, but still showed up in run defense and had 3.5 sacks on the season. Now, I think I edited his contract to be what it is in real life, but it's still showing him, for some reason, in the negotiation tab. So I'm not sure how that's going to play out, because he should be under contract now for a very long time. Going further down, Marcus Cooper was nickel cornerback for a while, but I think we need a better cover man in that spot, and I'll be looking to upgrade. Bryce Callahan took over after a while, and I think that Callahan is likely to stay on the team next year at 25 years old. There should still be some potential there. Jonathan Bullard was one of my favorite role players, as he was able to be pretty disruptive when it came to run defense and pass rushing, knocking down passes as well. So I hope he continues to develop. He's only 23. Then Eddie Goldman, our nose tackle, doesn't play a ton because he's a two-down player. Probably should get more snaps next year and rotate in a little bit more with those defensive linemen so that we can keep everybody fresh and get one of our best players on the field a bit more. Then there's Willie Young and Mitch Unrein, players I believe we can upgrade over. And then Nick Kwiatkowski, who I think is a good backup linebacker. There's Christian Jones, who also is a good backup linebacker. Marcus Calhoun now has 2 tackles in his career. And then Ifo Ekpreolamu had a sack. All in all, we did not have a very good season on either side of the football. As you can see here, 31st ranked offense, 28th ranked defense. Not going to dive into a ton of those stats because almost every single one has room for improvement. I would like to know where our rushing offense is, and that was the 6th. So we have 3 great interior linemen, a great running back in Jordan Howard. Thankfully, that at least paid off for us this year. But where I want to take a look now are conversions, red zone efficiency, and turnovers. And, well, I think that tells you a whole lot right there. 38% on third down. That is awful compared to teams that can convert like half the time. That sounds amazing. I want to get there eventually. Red zone efficiency. We are able to score 80% of the time. Wow, I'm surprised that we weren't a little bit higher. 22 touchdowns, 15 field goals, and last in red zone touchdowns. When it comes to defense, we were very good at allowing field goals instead of touchdowns, as we are able to clamp down there. So that is a strength of ours. Then for turnovers, the differential is -9 toward the bottom of the league. 26 giveaways and only 17 takeaways. For those wanting to see the overall stats in the NFL and the league leaders, most touchdowns goes to Matt Ryan and Marcus Mariota, both at 37. Most interceptions, Blake Bortles with 24. Running the football, your number one rusher this year was Devontae Freeman. Jordan Howard actually second. Very good for him, although you'd expect some more standout players. Perhaps some injuries might have affected players like Le'Veon Bell, because 212 carries does not sound right. There you go, broken hand. You can see it there. How about rushing touchdowns? How could it not be Devontae Freeman, as we helped him out tremendously? Then receiving, most catches. Is it really a tight end? It is. Rob Gronkowski, 105. Most yards, DeAndre Hopkins. Julio Jones, Doug Baldwin. Nice year for Jeremy Maclin. How about receiving touchdowns? Gronk again. Fleener. Jamison Crowder. Some surprises here towards the top. John Ross with 10. Cordero Patterson with 10. Then defensively, most tackles, Manti Te'o. Most sacks, Aaron Donald, although we know that Pernell McPhee had 21 and a half. It just isn't listing everybody here. Interceptions, 14 for Chris Harris. How do you almost pick off a pass per game? That's incredible. Your NFL MVP is Devontae Freeman, as a running back gets the award over all of these quarterbacks. Well done, Devontae. Coach of the Year is Griffin Murphy for the Patriots. Offensive Player of the Year in the AFC is Marcus Mariota. Defensive is Brandon Marshall, edging out his teammate Chris Harris and Shaq Barrett. Offensive Rookie of the Year is Deshaun Watson. Good job with his great season. Defensive Rookie of the Year is Chris Wormley of the Ravens. Quarterback, Marcus Mariota. Best running back, DeMarco Murray. Best receiver, DeAndre Hopkins. Best O-lineman, Marshall Yanda. D-lineman is Randy Starks. Linebackers, Marshall, Harris at DB, Cairo Santos. Now the NFC. Devontae Freeman, of course. Defensively, Deion Jones with 8 interceptions. Offensive Rookie goes to Dalvin Cook. Mitchell Trubisky actually third in the polling. Maybe he could have won it had he not gotten hurt. Defensive Rookie of the Year is Solomon Thomas. Eddie Jackson was third. Best quarterback, Matt Ryan. Running back, Devontae Freeman. Receiver, Julio Jones. O-lineman, Zach Martin. D-lineman, Aaron Donald. Linebackers, Deion Jones, Pernell McPhee in second. DB, Josh Norman. Kicker, Matt Bryant. So now we'll take a look at our roster, and this is the team sorted by overall rating. Toward the top, you see all these defensive standouts, along with Jordan Howard and Zach Miller. If you look at our oldest players, you get an idea of how old some of our core is, with Jarrell Freeman here at 31, Josh Sitton, then a lot of players approaching 30 as well. And it's not like the window is about to slam shut or anything for these players to be a part of a great team, but I just want to make sure that we don't waste any time. I don't feel like there's much to waste with all these 28-year-olds that we're relying on. So obviously this year we have to get more players who are younger than 25 that can be building blocks for the future. Players like Jordan Howard and Mitchell Trubisky, Jonathan Bullard and Eddie Goldman. Hopefully more players join that list, because I think our key players under 25, that list is a little shorter than I'd like it to be. So looking at our pending free agents, we have Zach Miller at the very top of the list. And it doesn't appear like, well, actually he's asking for almost 20 over 3, which is more than I'd want to do right now, especially for a 32-year-old player. Then there's Akeem Hicks, and it should register the contract I gave him, which I edited to be the one he has in real life. If not, I guess I would try to re-sign him. Cameron Meredith. Now, Meredith didn't get to play this season, and if he did, he could have really been a difference maker for this team. He was really good a couple of years ago, and I hope that we can re-sign him and get him back on the field and playing at a high level. The team needs a player like him, and he has so much ability that I hope that we can fix one of our biggest needs with Meredith. For Kyle Fuller, I think we'll end up letting him go, especially if he's wanting like 5-6 a year. I want someone who's more of a man cover corner. I want to change up our scheme in that direction. Tom Compton, he's got to go. Sam Acho, probably not going to prioritize him. Backups 28 and older are not going to make it back on the team at this point. Not too many anyway. Pat O'Donnell, probably try to keep him around depending on how expensive this gets. Might let him test free agency. John Jenkins, probably look to see what else is there in free agency, but wouldn't be against bringing him back. Kendall Wright, I do want to re-sign him. Not sure for how long. Maybe we let him test and get a contract more on my terms than the 3-year deal. Bryce Callahan, I do want to try keeping him. I like the speed and man cover. He fits what I want to do moving forward, and I would like to keep a player like him. Mitch Unrein. He might not be too expensive, but he's also 30, so we'll probably let him test. Christian Jones, might let him go. We do have some good linebacker depth, but I also might want to keep him at 26 years old. Might let him test to get him on a shorter contract. Benny Cunningham, I did not realize he was a free agent, but even at this figure, I wouldn't mind paying him that 5.36 at all. Kadeem Carey, we probably end up letting him go as Cunningham has become running back too. Bradley Sowell, 28 years old, probably let him go. Connor Barth, might let him go and look for a younger kicker with a stronger leg. Ruben Randall will probably go. Josh Bellamy will probably go. Mark Sanchez, same thing. Daniel Brown, we'll have to see. I do like him. Deontay Thompson, decent returner. I wouldn't mind keeping him just to play returner. And then DeAndre Houston Carson, I think should stay as a backup. I like to keep him for sure. And now we'll look at the draft board and talk about these position groups and talk about the players that I am most interested in. Now I have gone through to find the prospects that I want on the draft board. I have ranked like the top 6 to 10 players. The information is just incomplete and things change after the combine, and I think it's most valuable to rank these players within their own position groups anyway. Makes things a little bit easier. So why don't we take a look? How do we want to do this today? Let's look at the draft board. I'll go by my top like 5, and then we're going to go position by position and talk about the players that I like in those groups. So we know we're going to pick like number 2 overall. And as of right now, my favorite player in this draft, number 1 on the board, is A.J. Johnstone from Ohio State. A.J. is 22, 6'5", 290, excellent power moves as a pass rusher, and I think that he would make our front 7 even more fierce. I think Johnstone, from what I've seen so far, is the best player in this draft, although not at a major need. At number 2, I have Isaac Peters, who is a running back. I just wanted to scout more of the top talent because I knew we'd be picking really high. I wanted to see what could potentially be there. And Isaac Peters from Oregon has great elusiveness and carrying. I can't wait to see what his combine skills look like, but I don't think I'll end up taking a running back in the first round. One thing we could address in the first round is receiver, and my favorite is Sherman Poyer from Oregon, who has a great blend of hands, release at the line of scrimmage, and route running, but there are many first-round receivers with similar skill sets, so we might be in a position to just wait and see who falls because the talent is so similar. At left tackle, a major area of need is Frederick Chickillo from Florida State. Chickillo has great impact blocking. He excels at pass blocking. Run blocking needs a little work, but I think he is the best tackle in this class. It would provide a major upgrade for us at either tackle position. Then there is Vincent Brown at right guard. Great impact blocking, good run blocker, but pass block needs a lot of work. I think our guard situation is good, but Sitton is one of our older players. Then there's Jonathan Powell at cornerback from Wisconsin, who is a good zone corner. Now, I do want to prioritize man coverage, but a lot of these players have higher zone than man anyway, and Powell has one of the higher man coverage ratings I have seen, and that's why he ends up here as the number 6 player on the board, and we'll see how his combine goes, but getting a player like him to pair up with a Mukamara is definitely something I want to do, whether it's in free agency or here in the draft. Then there were a bunch of receivers and some other players that we'll get to, but I want to go and look at all the position groups and then my targets within those groups. So at quarterback, it's a weak class. Just 2 prospects projected to go early, and I don't even like Hayden Hope that much. Don't know anything about Zach Kelly. So I want to get a backup for Trubisky this year, and Andrew Leonard as a player will likely target, especially because in the mid to late rounds, I just have not found many players that I like. So I might have to prioritize a quarterback like Andrew Leonard, who has good throw power, adequate short and medium accuracy, might only be a backup, but I think he could be a good one with those skills. With only 4 draftable quarterbacks, I wonder how teams who need to draft a quarterback will handle this situation. At running back, I don't know much about these players. I only scouted the best one because he had a 6', 213 build and he was ranked number 1 at the position. So Peters, we know, should be a great back, but there are other backs that could be very good that we don't know much about. There are a few first rounders, and this draft board gets messed up here when you click on somebody, but 3 for the first round, a couple more for the second, and some in the third round. Now, there were a few more on my board, but it would take some exceptional combines, I believe, for me to actually draft one. This is getting messed up again. If I go to the draft board, we see Marcus Johnson, who has great stiff arm and trucking, but again, I don't think this is a major need for us. Then there's Alonzo Bryan and Aaron Norris, who, with great combines, might be intriguing to look at. At fullback, I haven't scouted anybody, nor do I plan to, but there are 2 that are draftable, apparently. At wide receiver, many first-round receivers, but they are all very similar in terms of build and their top 3 skills. So it was tough to rank these guys when there isn't enough information to separate them. It's going to be up to the combine to tell us who the fast and strong and agile players are, and whoever has the best blend of those skills will be the one I want the most. Now, as we go down the list, there were a number of players that get the red diamond here and are lower than original projections, but there are still players worth taking a hard look at. And even without combine, there are players here that I want. Players like Antonio Bryant and Camille Shea, who have great catch in traffic, great catching with big frames. And if you can catch the football and you're tall and physical, like, I'm okay if you don't have the best route running or whatever your weaknesses are, as long as this strength is there. And for players like Bryant and Shea, that could be exactly what we're looking for at the position. And there are other targets down the list who also have big frames and the ability to make the tough catches. Let me know in the comments section who your favorite players are for this draft class and who we should be targeting. I don't know much about the tight ends. Doesn't seem to be all that spectacular though, as I did scout a lot of the first ratings for these players. I like Dalton Ellingson, but I think our tight end situation is pretty good and not one we have to address this year. At tackle, it was hard to find the premier pass blockers, so outside of Frederick Chickalo, not much impressed me. And if we want to address this position, it's either going to have to be for big money in free agency or very early in this draft. So I'll have to be prepared to do that as these projections keep getting messed up. I think I fixed it there. At left guard, I like Connor Maynard, but the pass and run block both need work, and I don't think that he is actually a first-round talent. At center, I have not scouted anybody. At right guard, there are 2 players I like, but I like our guard situation, and neither of these players is a great pass blocker. At right tackle, I do like Logan Pearson, as he has C+ pass block, B run, B+ impact. He and Chickalo are 2 players that I definitely have a lot of interest in, and Pearson being a 3rd rounder might be one to target once we make that initial pick. On defense, there are some great players, but they aren't major needs for us. Like I mentioned, AJ Johnstone is the top player on my board. There were some other good pass rushers like Andrew Hepburn I'll look to have interest in, as I do want to have better pass rush depth, whether that be on the line or at outside backer. At right end, did not have a lot here I was interested in, but there are other mid-round players I could still scout. And that's what majority of my upcoming points will have to be spent on, just figuring out where the mid-round value is and if I can uncover anybody intriguing. At defensive tackle, there are some interesting players, but in the first round, not what I want to target. So maybe we'll figure out if there is a player in like the 4th round that I like. At left outside linebacker, Morgan Lamar is an intriguing player at 6'1", 228, great hit power, block, shed, and tackle. But I'm not sure we have to target a player with his skill set when we have the linebackers that we do. At middle linebacker, there are a couple other players, as I really tried to find who the blue chip first rounders were. I wanted to find more players that were worthy of like a top 5 selection, and many of them were at positions that we just don't need to address right now. At right outside linebacker, we have a couple more targets, mostly good run stoppers, but also I have interest in Curtis Brightful, who is a late round prospect with good power moves. And then at cornerback, I have scouted many players here going down the list, and there are more late rounders I could potentially scout when we get to the off-season stream. Now, when we look at the top players here, Bernard Salisbury and Jonathan Powell stand out at the top. I like Powell more because the man coverage is better, so is the zone. And he's 5'11", 183. Powell will definitely be an early target for us if we can't address cornerback in the free agency. There are some other ones that I have interest in, but no one on his level. Dwayne Chambers is one, but says undrafted talent, so I have concerns about intangibles. Kevin Henry, Forrest Merrow, same deal. So many of these players are undrafted. I can't believe there can be so many. Then at safety, there are a couple interesting players, and one I might target later in the draft is Morris Arisman, who is a playmaker from Arkansas State with good hit power in tackling, and I want to look for good tackling safeties to back up our current starters. At strong safety, there's Rashawn Miles, who seems to be a very good safety. Nicholas Matthews as well. I'll probably scout that last rating. He's from Delaware and also a playmaker. I expect that the rest of my points though will be spent on 4th round prospects and later trying to find value for those later picks. At kicker, Carson Crittenden from Michigan is a player we could potentially draft in like the 7th round if we don't keep Connor Barth. Overall, I think you have to be underwhelmed with this draft class just because there isn't a lot of top tier talent, and it doesn't look like this class is all that deep either. It's a pretty weak class and not the best year to have the number 2 overall selection. Still, there are chances to upgrade our roster with the right players, whether it's with Frederick Chickalow at left tackle or one of the first round receiver prospects, or with number 1 prospect AJ Johnstone. So, I hope the Combine gives us more standouts and that the off-season scouting lets us find more players who are impressive. So that is going to bring an end to the recap video as we will go through the postseason simulating in the off-season live stream. And I'm still not sure as I record this if it's going to be on Friday or Saturday. I'm recording this on Tuesday right now, so it's a little early for me to know. So I will let you know as soon as possible, and then we'll be on to the off-season to see what's to come in the Bears franchise. Thanks for watching, everybody. Please leave a like. Leave your feedback in the comment section and subscribe for much more Bears franchise on the way. I'll see you all next time. Have a great day.